Hey everybody, Derek here. I'm here to bring another video for The Walking Dead Season 5. And this video is going to be related to the ending of last night's episode, Self-Help. And I'm basically going to be assessing whether I think Eugene will live or die based on what happened last night and the repercussions of what could happen as a result of that. Obviously the the whole entire point of the video is in the description, but I'm going to be making some comic book references and some other things. So there may still be spoilers that you don't want to hear from this video, but again, these are just predictions. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just throwing out ideas, but just in case you want to go into these episodes clean, if you don't want to be spoiled or made to think a certain way, don't watch the video because you might be spoiled. Okay, so as we know, last night the episode ended with Eugene admitting that he's not really a scientist. He is a phony. He doesn't have a cure. He just lied because he knows that he perceives himself as weak, and he felt like he needed a strong group of people to survive. And getting to Washington, he figured that there were some bunkers or something, some kind of shelter up there that they could use, and he felt like he'd just be doing, a solid to whoever came along. So he's not necessarily the worst person on the face of the planet, but he's not everybody's best friend right now. I mean, and it's pretty clear that the group had some negative reactions to that, and it ended with, Abraham's temper had been flaring the entire episode, and I think that was because, he was remembering what happened with his wife and son and daughter. And I think, as I've stated, I think that he was trying to, use the mission to forget about that, making love to Rosita help him forget about that. He needed distractions. And at this point, his last purpose is now gone for living. And he gets so angry that he punches Eugene several times. And the last time he punches him, Eugene basically, he was standing up and his head kind of goes backwards a little bit. I think it might have hit the fire truck as well. May not have, but no matter what, in the end, Eugene basically flat falls right on his face. And you hear a pretty nasty sound when it hits the ground. And they turn him over and he's basically not very responsive. What does that mean? Does that mean he's dead? Does it mean he's still alive? What's going on? Well, one of the things that I was thinking about was, is Eugene dead? Very possible. And if he's not dead at that very moment, he may very well die in the next few episodes. I hope that doesn't happen, but one of the things that you have to think about is, after that revelation that Eugene is not really a scientist and he lied, he does have in the comics some purposes later on in the comics, but a lot of that is related to he makes bullets for Rick and the group when they fight the Saviors, and he also later on gets into a relationship with Rosita, but it's kind of not really working out as far as I know. I haven't actually read that part yet specifically in the comics, but mostly Eugene just pops up here and there, but he's not very prominent like, Rick or Michonne or Maggie would be. And, that's just the way the comics are. But it also shows that perhaps he may not be as necessary as you think he is. I mean, I thought he would survive for the long run, and the one thing I was thinking about was, well, if they're going to Washington, they need him in the plot, because otherwise what's the point of going to Washington? Well, now that he's basically let the cat out of the bag, what's the point of going to Washington? No reason anymore, And I was thinking about, just in terms of the amount of characters that we have, we're eventually going to be working our way towards the Alexandria safe zone, in my opinion. That seems to be the direction that the show is going in. Whether it's going to be exactly the Alexandria safe zone or just something like it, I don't know. But I think that that's what the show is eventually trying to work itself towards. And it can set that up in Georgia. there can be this community, not too far away, or heck, it might be in one of the bordering states. They don't have to necessarily have it in Washington. They didn't really, have it set up that way. It just was the way that the comics worked out. And I can understand the TV show is a little bit more limited, and it might be a lot harder to portray Washington, D.C. in Georgia. The climate, the conditions, things like that. So they may just keep it in Georgia. But that would mean that, maybe Eugene isn't necessary anymore. One of the things that you look at is they have a lot of characters right now. And they seem to be just adding more and more and more. And, I don't know what's going to happen to Noah, but Noah may stick with the group if he doesn't die. And then you have some of the people at the hospital. I mean, what if one or two other people at that hospital aren't that bad and actually survive? I mean, I don't know what Beth is necessarily thinking about Dr. Edwards or what might happen to Dr. Edwards, but there may be a chance that, Beth would let him stay in the group if he's valuable. I mean, it's a slim chance, but what if he gets added as well? Well, then you got a big cast of, characters. And at this point, what I really worry about is when we get to the Alexandria Safe Zone, just how many characters are they going to introduce there? And if you got all these characters trying to fit in there, it's just not going to work, in my opinion. And certain characters are going to be thrown into the background while others come out more into the forefront. And I'm really worried about that with the way the story, I feel, is going right now. Because how are they going to balance all that out? And, I just feel like several of the Alexandria Safe Zone people are essential to the plot. And I think they need to be introduced, like Aaron, Douglas Monroe, Spencer, the Anderson family, Heath, Holly, Dr. Denise. I mean, there are so many people that I just feel like they are so essential, they need to be introduced. And Eugene isn't really that prominent later on. And I think that, they may kill him off just to make way for new characters. I think that is a very good possibility. Because he's not in a good way right now. And it's very possible that he might die. Or, he might be severely impaired. I mean, I don't know if he's going to have full function of his brain. What could happen? But I'm pretty sure he has some kind of skull fracture one way or the other. I don't know. But, I mean, he's not good right now. So there is a chance that they might write that into the storyline. But I think that's a slim chance. I don't think that he's going to die, in my opinion. The reason I say that is because I just think there's a little bit more that they can do with him, and I really like the way that, they, make him a better character in the comics. Plus, the guy does deserve to have a little bit of redemption, in my opinion. I mean, yes, he lied. Yes, he was a phony. And yes, people did get killed because of him lying about the mission. But you can also understand from his perspective. If you're the type of person that can look at things from everybody's perspective, you can understand why he did that. He did not have a lot of faith in the human race, in my opinion, which is why he lied, because he was afraid that nobody would help him. There are people out there that would help. There are good people. He happens to be in a group of people that would help him. Tara said that flat out. And I really think that, when they were trying to, prevent Abraham from beating up on him, it shows that, yeah, he did lie, and yeah, he might be an outcast unless he proves himself. I mean, let's face it, if Carol can kill two people and, save the group and be allowed back into the group, then I think that Eugene can somehow, some way, find a way to make up for what he's done and be a good part of the group. That's just, I think that's something that they can work into the story. And I think there's unfinished business that they have with him that they really need to take care of. And another thing that I'm thinking about is I don't think that it would be a good thing for Abraham's character if Eugene dies. Because, yes, Abraham, right now has a lot of anger issues. And he definitely, is, he can basically, he's a time bomb waiting to explode. Is really the truth, and we've seen that throughout the series. But I think that this moment kind of made him, after he did it, he realized, oh my God, what did I just do? And I think that, him getting on his knees and breaking down in tears was a mixture of, him wasting his time because he thought the mission was real, him remembering everything that he did with his, family and what he did to the people that, raped his wife and daughter, and hitting Eugene. I think it all just, boom, came right together, and he broke down, which is understandable. But I don't know what they could necessarily do with his character if Eugene dies, because I don't think that he could really bounce back from that. I think that he would become a villain, in our eyes and everybody else's eyes because of what he did. And I mean, I don't know if they would exile him or not, but I just don't think that it's a wise move for the show to do that to him. I think that he could definitely learn a little bit of a lesson from this. And if Eugene survives, he comes to his senses, realizes, what kind of a man he wants to be, and, go forward from there, and find a new purpose to live. Because if Eugene dies, I mean, I just can't see anything good coming out of his character. I really don't. And Abraham's a great character, and I think that he deserves to have a significant amount of time on the show, and it should be in more of a positive light versus, Eugene dying and then he's vilified. I don't think that that is appropriate for the character. I honestly don't. What I was thinking about when I saw that happen, though, was, well, what if they decide to go back, the way they came? Because it's obvious they can't go forward. So my thought was that perhaps they may try to get back towards the church. Or somebody, or they might get there and Daryl's there and they might be like, hey, we need help. Eugene's effed up, and basically Daryl's like, oh, I know where a hospital's at. They may go to Grady Memorial Hospital with the intention of perhaps trying to treat Eugene. Or there might be a lot of different points behind it. They might take him there, and who knows, they might lie and be like, this guy's got the cure, even though they're going to find out he doesn't. Treat him and we can end this thing. They might try that. I mean, it's slim, but they may use that to try to get inside of the hospital, because they might not, Daryl's obviously going to know that something's not right there. And, if Noah shows up, then it's not going to be a good sign. But perhaps they can use Eugene as like a, hey, we're a bunch of innocent survivors that just happened upon this place. Can you help our friend? He's got the cure. And then they get in there and they, boom, storm the place and hold Dr. Stephen Edwards hostage while he works on Eugene. I mean, do I think it's likely? Yeah, it's a little far-fetched, but I don't think it's very far off from the truth. I think that Eugene is gonna need hospital treatment in some way, because I really think him falling on his face like that and being unresponsive, I think he might even have like a bit of a skull fracture. And, it is possible to survive those things. Skull fractures happen every now and then. And Dr. Edwards might be able to treat Eugene. That, or maybe somebody in the group has, the type of experience that can be used to treat people. I don't know what Abraham necessarily did in the army, but he may have combat medical experience. I mean, these kind of things may happen on the battlefield, and he might know what to do. So there is a chance that they can, use the hospital as a way to get these characters back together, because they might go to the hospital in order to try to seek help for Eugene, and, they find out what's going on there. That, or they might, again, they might go back to the church, hook up with Rick and the group, and then they all go to the hospital, and they use Eugene as kind of like the bargaining chip to get inside. Definitely a lot of possibilities, but, those are just predictions. Again, I don't know what's going to happen, but at this point, I do predict that Eugene will survive this somehow. I really don't think it's the right time to kill him off. I think that, yes, he has been a great character so far, and they really have, definitely making a big adjustment to his character by admitting it now that he was a phony, rather than later on in the story like I thought they were going to do. So it's definitely changed the circumstances, but it doesn't mean they have to kill him off. they didn't in the comics. And just because a comic book character is still alive in the comics doesn't mean they can't kill them off in the TV show. We've seen that happen with Andrea, and Dale got killed off earlier, Shane got killed off later. We see that they change the story, but I think that as long as the character still has some value to the show, they're going to keep them around. And I think that Eugene still has storylines, and I think they still need to explore that a little bit. And I think that, again, it would not be a good situation for Abraham if Eugene would die. I don't think that he would ever be able to bounce back from that, and I don't know if the group would want to have him. I just can't see it happening. But we will, excuse me, but we're just gonna have to watch and find out. We got a couple weeks, I guess. I guess next week is just gonna be focused on Daryl and Carol, so I don't think that we're really gonna see Eugene and them or Rick and them next week, or we might at the very, very end, but I don't think that it's really going to be answered next week. I think we're going to have to wait for 2 weeks. So, woo! Things to look forward to. But I'm going to bring my video to a close. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I have more videos. And if you have any video topics that you would like to suggest, don't be afraid to do so. And again, don't be afraid to give your thoughts. I'm not necessarily right. I could be totally wrong on this. And if you guys have alternate ideas or alternate theories that I did not go over, don't be afraid to write them in the comments. I love reading them and I love responding to them. You guys definitely have a lot of great thoughts out there. I always like to hear them and I welcome it. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.